The Celestial Throne was the pride of the Xyrian Empire, a massive starship that hovered above the golden planet Scifi 9. It was more than just a warship. It was the heart of the Empire's power. Inside its grand halls, nobles and generals gathered for an important meeting. At the center of the chamber sat Princess Scifi, daughter of the supreme ruler, her violet eyes calm yet sharp. The meeting was about the growing tensions between the Xyrians and other alien species. But before they could continue, alarms blared through the ship. A robotic voice echoed through the chamber. Alert! Unauthorized life form detected in the royal chamber. Guards snapped into action, drawing their plasma rifles. The nobles gasped in shock, looking around in confusion. How was that possible? No one could breach the security of the Celestial Throne. Then, without warning, he appeared. Right in the middle of the chamber, a figure materialized out of thin air. A human. He stood tall, wearing a dark, tactical suit that shimmered faintly with strange energy. His eyes scanned the room quickly, his body tense like a soldier ready for battle. His short brown hair was slightly messy, and a scar ran down his left cheek. He had the look of someone who had seen too many battles. Princess Scifi's eyes widened in shock. A human? Here? Impossible. The Xyrian Empire had studied humans before, but they were a young race, still bound to their small corner of space. There was no record of them possessing teleportation technology. So how did this one arrive here? Seize him, one of the nobles shouted. The guards rushed forward, but the human reacted fast. In one smooth motion, he dodged to the side, avoiding their grasp. His movements were sharp, controlled, like a trained warrior. One of the guards fired a plasma shot, but the human rolled behind a pillar just in time. Wait. Scifi raised a hand, signaling the guards to stop. She stepped forward, her elegant silver robes flowing behind her. The room fell silent. Even the human seemed to hesitate, sensing her authority. You, she said, her voice calm but firm. Who are you, and how did you enter my ship? The human took a deep breath. He didn't look afraid, only wary. Then he spoke. Commander Ethan Cross, he said. Special Operations, Earth Defense Force. Earth Defense Force. The nobles exchanged confused glances. Humanity wasn't supposed to have a defense force capable of interstellar travel. Scifi narrowed her eyes. And how did you get here, Commander Cross? Ethan hesitated. His last memory was of being on a secret mission near a strange wormhole. There had been an energy surge. His ship's systems had gone haywire. And then, nothing. Now he was here. I don't know, he admitted. One moment I was on a mission. The next, I was here. That's a lie. One of the generals growled. Humans don't have this technology. He must be a spy. Or an assassin. Another added. The tension in the room grew thicker. Scifi studied Ethan carefully. His heartbeat was steady. He wasn't lying. And his confusion seemed genuine. She stepped closer. If you are telling the truth, then you are in danger, Commander Cross. You should not be here. Ethan let out a dry chuckle. Yeah, I figured that out when your guys started shooting at me. Scifi's lips twitched slightly. Was that humor? How strange. No other species spoke so casually in the face of danger. But before she could respond, another alarm blared. This time, the robotic voice announced something far worse. Attention. Xyrian High Command has declared the human a security threat. Immediate termination is authorized. Ethan's eyes darkened. Well, that can't be good. The guards raised their weapons again, hesitation gone. Scifi's heart pounded. High Command was acting too fast. Why? Something was wrong. And in that moment, she had a choice. Let the guards kill him, or protect the human who wasn't supposed to exist. She made her decision. Stand down, she commanded. The guards froze, startled by her sudden order. Scifi turned to Ethan. If you wish to live, follow me. Now. Without waiting for his answer, she moved toward the exit. Ethan hesitated only for a second before following her. Behind them, the guards hesitated, unsure whether to disobey their princess or follow High Command's orders. Ethan glanced at Sayala. "So what's the plan, princess?" She didn't look at him, only walking faster. "We get off this ship before they decide to kill both of us." The chase had begun. Ethan Cross followed Princess Sayala through the towering hallways of the Celestial Throne. The ship was grand, its walls made of silver and glowing with alien energy. Strange floating orbs lit the corridors, casting soft blue light. The architecture was elegant, almost like a palace in space, but Ethan had no time to admire the view, because behind him, heavily armed guards were chasing them. "Stop them," a voice echoed from behind. Sayala moved fast, her silver robes flowing behind her. Ethan had to admit, she wasn't just some royal figure who sat on a throne all day. She knew how to move in a crisis. "You're really going against your own people for me?" Ethan asked, as they turned a sharp corner. Sayala didn't glance back. "I don't trust High Command. They want you dead too quickly, without asking questions. That means you're valuable to them. Or just a big problem," Ethan muttered. "Perhaps both," she admitted. Ahead, two guards blocked their path, plasma rifles raised. Ethan reacted instantly. He lunged forward, grabbing the barrel of one rifle and twisting it aside just before it fired. The energy blast scorched the wall. Using his other hand, he struck the guard's helmet, knocking him back. Sayala moved like lightning. Before the second guard could react, she reached for the control panel on the wall and pressed a sequence of buttons. A pulse of blue energy erupted from the walls, stunning both guards. They collapsed with a grunt. Ethan blinked. That was convenient. Sayala smirked. "This is my ship, Commander Cross. I know all its secrets." Ethan was starting to like her style. But there was no time for celebration. More guards were coming. The sound of boots echoed through the halls. Sayala pressed another button, and a hidden door slid open beside them. Inside. Ethan didn't hesitate. They slipped into the passage, and the door closed behind them just as the guards arrived outside. Inside the hidden passage, the air was cooler. The walls were narrower, filled with strange glowing symbols. Ethan took a deep breath, steadying himself. His heart was still racing from the fight. "You have secret tunnels in your ship?" he asked. Sayala walked ahead. Of course, the Empire was built on secrets. Ethan sighed. "Yeah, that doesn't sound suspicious at all." She ignored his sarcasm and led him deeper into the passage. "We need to reach the command deck. If we override the security system, I can delay the lockdown and find a way to get you off this ship." Ethan frowned. "And what about you? If High Command knows you helped me, you'll be in just as much trouble." Sayala hesitated, then sighed. "I know." That answer told Ethan everything. She had already accepted the risk. Before he could say more, a voice boomed through the ship's speakers. "Attention, all personnel. Princess Sayala is assisting the human intruder. She is now a traitor to the Empire. Capture her alive. Kill the human." Ethan and Sayala froze. The silence between them was heavy. Sayala's face was unreadable, but Ethan could see the slight tension in her jaw. "Well," Ethan said, breaking the silence. That escalated quickly. Sayala's fists clenched. "This is wrong. High Command has too much power. My father, he would never approve of this." "Then where is he?" Ethan asked. Sayala looked away. "Gone. A year ago." Ethan understood now. The real power of the Empire wasn't in the hands of the royal family. It was in the hands of High Command. And they had just turned against their own princess. Before he could respond, the tunnel shook violently. A deep rumbling sound echoed through the walls. Ethan immediately pressed against the side of the passage. That didn't sound good. Sayala placed her hand on the wall. Her face darkened. "They've activated the war drones." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "I don't like the sound of that." She exhaled sharply. They're AI-controlled hunters, fast, efficient, and they do not stop until the target is eliminated. Let me guess, Ethan said. I'm the target. And now, so am I, she added. Ethan let out a short laugh. Great, first time meeting an alien princess, and I already got her on the Empire's most wanted list. Typical Monday. Ciala tilted her head slightly. Monday. Never mind. Ethan sighed. Let's just get to the command deck before your robots turn us into space dust. Ciala nodded and moved forward, but for the first time, Ethan saw uncertainty in her eyes. She was risking everything. And now her life was in his hands just as much as his was in hers. The war drones were coming. The chase wasn't over. The secret passage was dark, illuminated only by the soft blue glow of the walls. Ethan Cross moved quickly, his instincts sharp. Beside him, Princess Ciala kept pace, her face calm but her eyes focused. The sound of distant metal clanking against the floor echoed through the tunnel. The war drones had been deployed. How dangerous are these things? Ethan asked, glancing at Ciala. She didn't slow down. They are designed to eliminate threats with precision. They track movement, heat, and sound. They will not stop until the target is neutralized. Ethan exhaled. Sounds fun. Not for you, she replied flatly. Ahead, the tunnel split into 3 different paths. Ciala paused for only a second before choosing the middle path. Ethan followed without hesitation. Where exactly are we going? He asked. The mind chamber, she said. If I can access the Zyrian network, I can find out why High Command wants you dead so badly. Ethan frowned. You really think they're hiding something? She gave him a sharp look. I know they are. You appeared inside the most secure chamber of the Empire. Humans don't have teleportation technology. And yet, here you are. Someone wanted you here, and now they want you gone. Ethan didn't like that thought. He had assumed this was some random accident caused by the wormhole near his last mission. But what if it wasn't? What if someone brought him here on purpose? Before he could answer, a sharp mechanical screech echoed through the tunnels. A second later, 3 sleek war drones dropped from the ceiling, their 6 glowing red eyes scanning the area. Move, Ciala shouted. Ethan fired his stolen plasma pistol, hitting one drone in the eye. The energy blast sent it spinning, but it quickly corrected itself, aiming its blasters at them. Ciala pressed a button on her wrist device, and a section of the floor collapsed beneath them. Ethan felt himself falling before he hit a metallic slide. He slid downward, the walls flashing past him. After a few seconds, he landed in a massive circular chamber. The walls were lined with glowing data screens filled with strange Zyrian symbols. In the center of the room, a large floating blue crystal pulsed with energy. Ethan got to his feet. What is this place? Ciala walked forward. The mind chamber. This is where we store and process the Empire's most classified knowledge. Ethan whistled. So, you have a big fancy space computer. Ciala sighed. Crude description, but yes. She placed her hands on the crystal. The room hummed with energy as streams of data flowed into her mind. Her eyes glowed violet as she accessed the information. Ethan stood back, watching her carefully. He didn't trust this place. Something felt wrong. Then Ciala's eyes widened. She gasped and staggered back, as if she had been hit. Ethan rushed forward, catching her before she could fall. Hey, what happened? She looked up at him, shock clear in her expression. They've been lying about humanity, she whispered. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? Ciala took a deep breath. The Empire has been monitoring human development for years. They knew about Earth's progress. But they hid the truth. She pressed a button, and one of the floating screens displayed a secret Zyrian report. Ethan's eyes narrowed as he read the translated text. Humanity is evolving at an unprecedented rate. Their ability to adapt and innovate surpasses initial projections. If left unchecked, they will surpass the Zarian Empire within a century. Recommend immediate containment measures. Ethan's blood ran cold. So they see us as a threat. Ciela nodded. They spread false information, telling the Empire that humans were weak, primitive, unworthy of notice. But in secret, they were afraid of you. Ethan clenched his fists. It all made sense now. The reason High Command reacted so violently to his arrival. They wanted me dead before anyone realized the truth. Before Ciela could respond, the walls trembled. A voice boomed through the chamber. Traitor detected. Initiating purge protocol. The entrance sealed shut, and the room's temperature dropped. The floating crystal flashed red as robotic arms emerged from the walls, each one armed with deadly plasma cutters. Ethan grabbed Ciela's wrist. We need to get out of here. Now. She nodded, her mind racing. There's an emergency exit beneath the control panel. Ethan sprinted forward and fired his plasma pistol at the robotic arms, blasting them apart. Meanwhile, Ciela pressed a sequence of buttons, and a hidden door slid open on the floor. Without hesitation, they jumped down. As they fell into the darkness below, Ethan heard the sound of an explosion above them. The mind chamber was destroyed. The truth about humanity had almost been lost. But now, Ethan and Ciela knew the Empire's greatest secret, and there was no turning back. Ethan and Ciela landed hard on a metal platform deep below the mind chamber. The emergency exit had saved them just in time. The explosion above sent vibrations through the walls, shaking dust and debris loose. Ethan groaned as he pushed himself up. Next time, let's find an exit that doesn't involve jumping into darkness. Ciela stood quickly, brushing dust from her silver robes. We didn't have a choice, Commander. Her violet eyes were sharp, but her breathing was unsteady. The information she had just discovered was still weighing on her mind. Ethan could see it in her face. The Empire fears humanity, she whispered. They lied to their own people. They called you weak, but in reality, they knew your species was evolving faster than any other race in the galaxy. Ethan nodded. Yeah, and now I see why they wanted me dead. They couldn't risk someone like me learning the truth. The distant sound of mechanical footsteps echoed through the tunnel ahead. Ciela tensed. The war drones, she said. They've recalibrated their search patterns. Ethan tightened his grip on his stolen plasma pistol. How many are we talking? Ciela glanced at her wrist device, scanning the movement signals. Her expression darkened. Too many, she muttered. Ethan sighed. Great. Any chance you've got another one of those secret tunnels? Ciela hesitated. There is one, but it leads to a restricted hangar bay. Only High Command's elite forces have access to it. Ethan smirked. Sounds like exactly where we need to go. Ciela gave him a sharp look. You do realize we'll have to fight our way past the strongest warriors in the Empire. Ethan shrugged. Yeah, well, after today, I'm already on their most wanted list. Might as well go all in. Ciela sighed but didn't argue. Instead, she led the way through a narrow corridor, her movements swift and precise. Ethan followed closely, his instincts on high alert. They moved quickly, but the sound of approaching war drones grew louder. Their red eyes gleamed in the distance, their energy weapons charging up. Run, Ciela ordered. Ethan didn't need to be told twice. They sprinted down the corridor as plasma blasts scorched the walls behind them. The air smelled of burning metal. Ciela reached a control panel and slammed her hand against it. A hidden door slid open, revealing a large chamber beyond. Inside, sleek black starfighters were docked, each one glowing with advanced energy shields. Rows of elite Zarian guards stood at attention, their weapons at the ready. And at the center of the hangar stood a tall Zarian warrior, his armor glowing with golden patterns. His piercing eyes locked onto Ciela. Ethan immediately knew this was trouble. The warrior's voice was cold. Princess Ciela, you have betrayed the Empire. Ciala lifted her chin. The true betrayal is High Command's lies. They fear humanity because they know the truth. The warrior's gaze flickered toward Ethan. The human should not exist within these halls. You should not have helped him. Ethan rolled his shoulders. Yeah, well, I didn't ask to be teleported into your royal palace, buddy. The warrior ignored him. He stepped forward, drawing a curved energy blade. You will surrender now, he ordered, or you will not leave this ship alive. Ciala's hand tightened around her wrist device. We're leaving, General, whether you let us or not. The warrior, General Kaler, narrowed his eyes. Then, without warning, he lunged forward. Ethan barely had time to react before Kaler swung his blade at him. Ethan dodged to the side, but the energy from the weapon burned through the air. This guy was fast. Too fast. Ciala activated her shield bracelet, blocking Kaler's next strike with a pulse of blue energy. She countered with a quick movement, pressing a button on her wrist. The nearest starfighter's engine roared to life. Ethan understood her plan immediately. Buy time. Get to the ship, Ciala said through clenched teeth. Ethan raised his plasma pistol and fired at the hangar's support beams. The explosion sent a shockwave through the chamber, knocking back several guards. Ciala leaped into the cockpit of the closest starfighter. Ethan ran toward her, dodging plasma fire as Kaler charged after him. Ethan reached the ship's wing and grabbed onto the edge. He swung himself up just as the ship lifted off the ground. Kaler's blade *** slashed through the air, ***, but he missed by mere inches. The starfighter blasted out of the hangar, zooming into the cold void of space. Ethan exhaled, pulling himself into the co-pilot's seat. That was too close. Ciala's hands moved fast over the controls. We're not safe yet. The Celestial Throne will send pursuit ships. Ethan strapped himself in. Then let's make sure they don't catch us. Behind them, the Zyrian flagship turned toward them, its massive cannons charging up. The chase wasn't over. Not even close. The starfighter shot through the void of space, its sleek black surface reflecting the distant stars. Ethan Cross gripped the edges of his seat as Ciala pushed the ship to its limits, weaving between asteroid debris with incredible precision. Behind them, the Celestial Throne loomed like a monstrous shadow, its gigantic cannons charging with energy. Ethan could already see the glow building up inside them. They're about to fire, Ethan shouted. Ciala didn't look away from the controls. I know. The ship's warning alarms blared as the flagship released a massive plasma beam, slicing through space with terrifying speed. Ciala reacted instantly. She jerked the controls to the left, spinning the starfighter sideways. The plasma beam narrowly missed them, cutting through a nearby asteroid instead. The rock exploded into a fiery cloud, sending debris flying in all directions. Ethan let out a breath. That was way too close. Focus, Commander, Ciala said. We're not safe yet. Behind them, 3 Zyrian attack fighters launched from the flagship, their engines burning bright blue. They closed the distance fast, their weapons locking onto the stolen ship. They're sending pursuit ships, Ethan warned. Ciala's fingers danced over the control panel. I see them. The enemy fighters opened fire. Bright red plasma blasts streaked toward them. Ciala rolled the ship upside down, dodging most of the shots, but one blast clipped their wing, causing sparks to fly inside the cockpit. Shields down to 60%, Ciala muttered. Ethan's eyes scanned the console. Do we have any weapons on this thing? Ciala shook her head. This is a transport model, built for speed, not combat. Great, Ethan muttered. Then we need another plan. Ciala's violet eyes flickered as she thought. Then she suddenly pressed a series of buttons. A holographic map appeared on the screen, showing a nearby nebula. She pointed. That nebula will interfere with their sensors. If we can reach it, we might have a chance. Ethan nodded. Then let's hope this thing can outrun them. Ciala pushed the thrusters to maximum, and the ship shot forward, heading straight for the nebula. The enemy fighters accelerated, refusing to let them escape. One of them moved ahead, cutting off their path. Ethan gritted his teeth. "They're boxing us in." Sayala didn't slow down. Instead, she angled the ship downward, heading straight for a large asteroid. Ethan's eyes widened. Sayala, there's a giant rock in front of us." "Trust me," she said calmly. The asteroid's rough surface loomed closer. The enemy fighters hesitated, unsure of her plan. Then, at the last second, Sayala activated the ship's maneuvering thrusters, tilting the nose upward. The starfighter scraped along the asteroid's surface, using its gravity to slingshot around it. The enemy fighters weren't so lucky. The first one couldn't turn in time and crashed into the asteroid, exploding into a fireball. The other two pulled back to avoid the debris, giving Sayala and Ethan the time they needed to reach the nebula. As soon as they entered the thick, swirling cloud of ionized gas, their sensors flickered. The ship's systems struggled to adjust. Sayala exhaled. "Their tracking systems won't work in here. We should be safe for now." Ethan leaned back in his seat, rubbing his temples. "I'm really not used to flying without weapons." Sayala gave a small smirk. "You handled it well." Before Ethan could respond, a strange energy spike appeared on the ship's scanners. Sayala's expression changed instantly. "That's not normal." Ethan sat up. "What is it?" She tapped a few buttons, adjusting the sensors. "Something is inside the nebula." A deep, throbbing pulse echoed through the ship's hull, like a heartbeat in space. Then, without warning, the nebula parted. A massive black vessel emerged from the fog, unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. It was covered in jagged, shifting metal, almost like it was alive. Sayala's face paled. "That's impossible." Ethan's instincts screamed danger. "What is that thing?" Sayala's voice was barely above a whisper. "The Silent Fleet." Ethan frowned. "What?" She swallowed hard. "They were an ancient enemy of the Empire, long before my time. They vanished centuries ago. No one has seen them since." The massive ship turned toward them. And then Ethan heard something impossible. A voice, deep, mechanical, and ancient, spoke through their ship's communication system. "Human. Zirian. Your war is meaningless. The true threat has returned." The message sent a chill down Ethan's spine. Sayala stared at the controls. "This changes everything." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we better figure out what's coming before it's too late." The massive black vessel hovered in the nebula, its shifting metallic surface reflecting the swirling gases around it. It was unlike any ship Ethan had ever seen, silent, dark, and unnerving. Inside the stolen starfighter, Ethan and Sayala exchanged a glance. The mysterious voice still echoed in their minds. "Human. Zirian. Your war is meaningless. The true threat has returned." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Okay, I'm officially creeped out. Who? No. What is talking to us?" Sayala's hands trembled slightly over the controls. The Silent Fleet. They were a legend, a nightmare from the past. My people thought they were destroyed long ago. Ethan frowned. "Guess they weren't." Before Sayala could respond, the black ship's hull shifted, opening like the mouth of a great beast. A beam of dark blue light latched onto their ship, pulling them in like a predator claiming its prey. Ethan's instincts screamed danger. "Sayala, can we break free?" She gritted her teeth and pushed the thrusters to full power, but it was useless. The tractor beam held them tight, pulling them into the belly of the ancient vessel. The starfighter shuddered as it touched down inside a dimly lit hangar. The air was eerily still. The walls pulsed slightly, as if the ship itself was breathing. Ethan reached for his plasma pistol. "I don't like this." Sayala nodded, her expression tense. "We must be careful. No one knows what happened to the Silent Fleet after they disappeared." The cockpit hatch hissed open, and a deep mechanical voice echoed through the hangar. "Step out, human, and Zirian. You must hear the truth." Ethan exchanged a wary look with Sayala before slowly stepping out of the ship. His boots met the cold, metallic floor with a faint clang. From the darkness, figures emerged. At first, they looked like armored soldiers, but as they stepped into the dim blue light, Ethan realized the truth. They weren't alive. They were machines. Tall, humanoid figures made of shifting black metal, their faces blank except for two glowing blue eyes. Ethan tightened his grip on his weapon. Okay, this is getting worse. One of the machines stepped forward. Its voice was deep and synthetic. "You are not our enemies, but your war is a distraction. A far greater danger is coming." Sayala's voice was steady, but her eyes held unease. "Who are you?" The machine paused. "We were once known as the Silent Fleet. Long ago, we fought against the Zyrian Empire. We lost. But before we vanished, we learned something terrible." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "And that would be?" The machine's glowing eyes flickered. "The Devourers are returning." Sayala stiffened. "That's impossible. The Devourers were wiped out centuries ago." Ethan glanced at her. Wanna explain for the human in the room." Sayala hesitated before speaking. "The Devourers were a race of biomechanical creatures that consumed entire civilizations. They didn't just conquer planets. They erased them. They were parasites that turned everything into more of themselves." Ethan frowned. "And you're saying they're coming back?" The machine nodded. "Yes. We detected their signals in the outer rim of the galaxy. They have already started consuming worlds. If they are not stopped, all life, including humans and Zirians, will be destroyed." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. "Why should we believe you?" The machine extended its arm. A holographic projection appeared in the air, showing a planet being consumed. Massive, writhing black tendrils spread across the surface, devouring cities and landscapes. Ships tried to escape, but monstrous biomechanical creatures latched onto them, ripping them apart. Ethan's stomach twisted. "That's horrifying." Sayala's expression darkened. "If this is true, the Zyrian Empire will not be ready." The machine turned its glowing eyes to her. "They must be warned. But your empire will not listen unless they have proof." Ethan crossed his arms. "So what's the plan? Because if you just dump us back into space, we'll be hunted by both your people and hers." The machine was silent for a moment. Then it spoke. "We will give you proof." The floor beneath them shifted, forming a smooth walkway. At the end of the corridor, a strange, glowing device rose from the ground. It was filled with pulsing blue light. Sayala took a step forward. "What is this?" "A data core," the machine explained. "It contains all our records of the Devourer's return. It is encoded in a way that even the High Command cannot deny." Ethan exhaled. "Okay, so we take this, get back to the Empire, and hope we don't get shot before we can deliver the message." Sayala gave him a small smirk. "You make it sound so easy." The machine looked at them both. "We will help you escape. But be warned, once the Empire knows the truth, the war between humans and Zirians will no longer matter. Only survival will." Ethan picked up the glowing data core, feeling its strange energy pulse in his hands. He looked at Sayala. "Guess we're about to change history." She nodded. "Let's just hope we live long enough to see it." Behind them, the Silent Fleet began to wake. The machines, long forgotten, were preparing for war. And the real battle was just beginning. Ethan Cross sat in the cockpit of the stolen Zyrian starfighter, gripping the glowing data core tightly. Beside him, Sayala finished preparing the ship's engines. The Silent Fleet's towering machines stood silently in the hangar, watching them. The leader of the machines, the one with glowing blue eyes, stepped forward. "We will create a distraction to ensure your escape. Once you leave this ship, the Zyrian Empire will hunt you. But they must see the truth before it is too late." Sayala nodded. "We'll get this to the High Command. They won't have a choice but to listen." Ethan smirked. Yeah, assuming they don't try to shoot us first. The mechanical leader tilted its head. Then you must be faster than their guns. A deep rumble shook the massive black vessel. The silent fleet was awakening. The ship's dark metallic walls pulsed as energy surged through them. Engines hummed to life, and ancient systems activated after centuries of silence. The machine turned to Ethan and Sayala one last time. Go, and may your people choose survival over war. Sayala pulled the thruster controls, and the ship lifted off the hangar floor. The hangar doors split open, revealing the swirling blue and purple gases of the nebula outside. As soon as they left the hangar, the alarms began. The Zyrian flagship had been waiting outside, and now it had locked onto them. Ethan's eyes widened. They already spotted us. Sayala's grip tightened on the controls. I told you they wouldn't just let us go. The Celestial Throne, the largest and most powerful warship in the Zyrian fleet, hovered in the distance, its weapons charged, preparing to fire. Then the silent fleet attacked. The massive black ship that had taken them in suddenly came to life, its hull shifting as hidden cannons emerged. A deep, powerful energy blast shot forward, slamming into the Zyrian flagship's shields. Ethan grinned. I think they just bought us our exit. Sayala didn't hesitate. She pushed the ship's thrusters to full power, speeding away from the battlefield. Zyrian fighters tried to pursue, but the silent fleet's weapons kept them busy. As they broke free from the nebula, Ethan exhaled. That was the easy part. Sayala gave him a sharp look. Now comes the real challenge, getting this to the High Command without getting executed. The Zyrian capital, High Command's war chamber. The Zyrian War Council stood around a massive holographic display in a grand chamber. The most powerful leaders of the Empire, including the High Empress herself, watched the battle unfolding near the nebula. A Zyrian general slammed his fist on the table. The silent fleet has returned. That's impossible. The High Empress, an older but regal Zyrian with deep violet eyes, spoke calmly. Impossible or not, our fleet is under attack. We must retaliate. Before she could give the order, a loud alarm rang through the chamber. A soldier rushed in. Your Majesty, an unauthorized ship has entered the capital's airspace. The council turned toward the holographic screen as a small stolen starfighter sped toward the palace. The High Empress's eyes narrowed. Who is foolish enough to do this? Then the soldier hesitated. It's Princess Sayal. The room fell silent. The High Empress's expression darkened. Bring her to me. Now. The final choice. Ethan and Sayala stood before the High Empress, surrounded by armed Zyrian guards. Sayala stepped forward. Mother, you have to listen. The Empress's cold gaze locked onto her daughter. You stole a ship. You attacked your own people. And you return now, in the middle of a war? Sayala clenched her fists. The war doesn't matter anymore. The Devourers are coming. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The generals whispered among themselves. One of them scoffed. A dead enemy from our history. This is madness. Ethan stepped forward, holding up the glowing data core. We have proof. Sayala took the core and placed it into the chamber's central holographic projector. Immediately, footage appeared. A planet being consumed. Dark tendrils spreading. Cities vanishing. The room went deadly silent as the truth unfolded before their eyes. The High Empress's expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened into fists. How do we know this isn't a trick? Ethan exhaled. Because I saw it with my own eyes. Sayala met her mother's gaze. If we don't act now, the Empire will be wiped out. The room remained silent. Then, after a long moment, the Empress spoke. Summon the War Council. We must prepare. The First Alliance. Hours later, fleets began mobilizing. For the first time in history, Zyrian and human ships stood side by side. The message had been sent to Earth's leaders. The response came swiftly. We will stand together. The silent fleet had already moved into position, preparing for the coming war. Ethan watched the massive fleet from the palace's war room. He glanced at Sayala. "You think we have a chance?" She smirked. "We'll find out soon enough." Then, from deep in space, the first devourer signals appeared on the scanners. The invasion had begun, to be continued in a new war.